Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome again to Against the Grain. I'm your host, CEO and founder of ToolBelt, Josh Engelbrecht. We have a special guest, actually plural, with us today. We got Greg with Level Fine Finishes. Greg, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Greg Agosta, owner of Level 5 Fine Finishes. And this is my niece, Jasmine. She is my protege.
Okay.
Something like that.
All right, got the master and the Padawan in the house. I like it. Okay. So kind of starting off here. So you guys are, so you're a painting contractor, right?
That's correct.
Okay, cool. Why don't you kind of just walk me through kind of your journey? How'd you get started?
I got started in summer of my 11th year. My brother-in-law, you want to work, and
So you're 11 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it was child safety, labor laws violated, but it's family, so they can do that. And so I started working for him, and I had an addiction to radio-controlled airplanes. So it was, I really liked to work because I was making, money.
Yeah.
And the problem with working for family is they don't pay you, right, Jasmine? No, I'm kidding. But, so really, what led me to want to be a contractor, I was about 13, and my family said, hey, you're gonna have to wait to get paid, and a lot. And so I really just kind of got a chip on my shoulder. And when I was 13, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be a contractor, and I'm gonna pay my people, and I'm not gonna spend my deposits on crab legs, and the whole thing.
Right.
And so when I was 24, I moved across the country with my wife, and we moved to New Jersey, and I started GT painting. That was my foray into being a contractor, and I wasn't very good at estimating.
So what was that like? So are you from the Portland area?
I'm actually from Long Beach, California, and
Okay.
I lived in the San Diego area. So
Gotcha. So you moved from California, so literally coast to coast.
Literally coast to coast.
So what was kind of like the culture difference like when you moved out from California
it
to
was
New Jersey?
extreme. Really, the people on the East Coast are much more in your face. They will tell you what they think. There's not a lot of guesswork, which I grew to appreciate, because living in California, people are very mealy-mouthed.
Yeah.
And so having constructive criticism, even if, it's kind of rude, it worked for me. And while I was there, I developed, an insane love of sanding. I did a project for a construction litigation attorney, and it was my first large high-end project, and I was so scared that I didn't.
Because he's a construction litigation.
Yeah. So I was, I kind of lost my mind with orbital sanders, and I sanded all the walls perfectly smooth, and it looked beautiful. And that's where it began for me, where I stopped making money. What would happen was I put so much of myself into my work that I would just not make money. And what I'd have to do is I'd overcompensate by prepping a lot, but then I learned to paint very fast to make up for it, to hide the fact that I was, sanding for free. And so what ended up happening was I got really good, and I had the time to develop. So for about 9 years, I just did whatever I wanted. I worked by myself. I had a nephew who worked for me, and
Former protege.
And he worked for me, and we did really fine finish work. It was great. And I worked on a job in Mantelope, New Jersey, and it was prior to Hurricane Sandy. And so for 8 months, I was in that house working with Amish carpenters. It was an amazing project, but Hurricane Sandy came, destroyed it completely. The town just washed away practically, and then there was just the bottom floor of this building that was all blown out from the ocean, and then they rebuilt it. So for 4 months they rebuilt it.
The Amish.
The Amish, yeah, they rebuilt it.
So level of craftsmanship. I mean, for those that are listening, Amish they're world renowned for being.
They're amazing. They're methodical. It's not that they move very quickly, it's that they come in as a unit and they just attack things. And I learned a lot watching them, because I was in this house, so I was working 17-hour days. I was far from home, so I would stay overnight, in an empty house. And I'm kind of, I get manic when I'm in my work mode. And so I just...
To say the least.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah. So I lost about 34 pounds, like just from constantly going and going and going, and then the house washed away. Then they rebuilt it,
Gosh.
and then I went back in for another 7 months. And at the end of it all, what did it for me, made me leave New Jersey, was prior to the storm, I washed a whole lot of oxidation off their siding with chemicals and scrub brushes, and it was really hard.
Yeah.
And
very labor intensive.
Very labor intensive, because they didn't want a weathered appearance. So we did that. Then the storm came. They had a couple of shingles get damaged, so they re-shingled the entire house, and then asked me to put bleaching acid on it, which is what I had removed. And so I just said no thank you. And I packed my family up and we moved across the country. And we live in Vancouver now, and it's much better.
Yeah,
So that's the short version.
Gotcha. So then you got your start. So you come back here to Vancouver. And so did you continue to do painting work here?
I tried to. When I first moved here, I set myself up about 7 months in advance. I paid rent on a house so that I'd have a chance to get started.
Smart.
But what ended up happening, is like with any risk, I got down to about $7. And I found a job with another painting company and managed to keep from going under. But it was really about $35 more a month that I was making than we needed to live as a family.
Wow.
And so that went on for, I basically ascended to as far as I could ascend in the realm of just like the employee painter. And 2.5 years ago, they ran out of work for me and laid me off. And it just so happened that there was a contractor who does multifamily work that I reached out to when I first moved here and did, a couple of buildings for him. And then I reached out to him, and 10 minutes later, I was looking at an apartment complex with 8 buildings, and so I started that, and then I took that
on your own,
on my own with one other guy. We finished it in 6 weeks.
Was that crazy? I mean, walk me through that to where it's like you're already stretched super thin, and then it's like boom, you don't have work. Like what?
I go into when stress hits me like that, I switch into a different mode. I become extremely productive. And so
back against the wall.
Yeah, that's my best place, right? And so one of my strategies for life is throwing stuff at myself, and that pushes me to go beyond it. Hence the job I'm on now.
Yeah, that kind of segues perfect. So yeah, like you back against the wall, came out of it, and then you started kind of building up and expanding, and so kind of walk us through this huge opportunity that you're on now. It's like, I mean, the project's been in the paper, everybody's heard about it.
Right.
So.
Well, I hadn't, and that's actually the ironic part about all of this is I had no idea it existed until 4 days before it was due.
Right.
And literally no idea. And my house and my life is insane right now. I've got a lot going on.
Right.
And so what I basically did was I got it in my head I wanted this job. I just needed it. It just needed to be mine.
Speak it into existence.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you can see it, you can have it, right? So I just really wanted it. And when I get maniacal or when the mania kicks in, I'm not very reasonable. And so what I did was I got my paint rep. Bless the guy, handed me this paper and said, chase this lead.
So paint rep from Sherwin-Williams.
Yeah, my paint rep from Sherwin-Williams.
Fantastic company.
Yeah, and he basically handed me this paper, and he was the original sales rep for that job in 2004 when it was built.
Wow.
Right, so he just happened across it, and he said, oh, it looks like it's ready, now. So 4 days from now, you need to turn in this bid. And I had no idea. Really, because what is involved in becoming a government painter, like painting for.
So prior to this, you did what?
I did multifamily for a general contractor, basically siding and trim, and that was the bulk of my business.
So you just jump into government.
I jumped into government work, and not only did I jump in, but I dragged so many people with me. My wife, she's my biggest supporter, but she also is there to bring me down to earth and let me see reason.
It's definitely what they're there for.
Yeah, and it was a total I'm not listening to you, moment. And it was, what really happened was Jasmine here, she kind of like believed in it in her own way, and she went with me because, I drag her around, and we did this bid and we walked it for about 6 hours, putting numbers together, and
4 days before it's due.
4 days
6
before
hours.
it's due. Yeah, 6 hours. So at the same time, I was doing another project, and so it was like basically I ruined everybody's weekend, ruined their weekend. They all
ruined all of it.
ruined it. And so really, like when I got all the numbers together and I did all the legwork, and my wife is the biggest mystery unraveler in the family. So every time I run across anything, I'm like, here, can you find out what this is and get it for us? So I went from really not having a clue where we were headed with it to suddenly like, we need this thing and we need that thing and we need this. And mind you, I still didn't even qualify for the job, because to get a job of that size, you need to be able to hold a bond of that size.
Right.
To date, I had not held any bond larger than
Just a normal, like a standard.
standard bond, right? And so, when it got down to it, the night before the bid was due, I reached out to a contractor, a friend of mine, and I was like, maybe you should deliver this in your name. And then, and it was declined. He just didn't have time or whatever. And so
Right.
it just kind of drifted off. Like, I was heartbroken, right?
So you put all this time.
A lot of
effort,
time. And I had a lot of angry people.
And you just don't get it. So then it just.
Right, right.
Okay.
So
then what happens?
So I call my rep and I say, hey, I blew it. And he's like, well, maybe not. Why don't you contact whoever did win it? It's public record. So I did. And I sent them an email, and I reached out. I said, hey, look, I didn't turn in the bid, but I did bid it, and so if you're interested in my pricing, I've got it. And so then some time went by, a week or two, I think, and then I got an email, like, hey, Greg, I'd be interested in pricing. And I just like through the roof excited, right? And I was like, hey, everybody, where's the notes?
So what was your reaction up to this point, Jasmine?
I wasn't all that into it. I mean, I wasn't against it either, but I don't get my hopes up about much until it's actually there. And it was miserable. It was a miserable experience. He relied on me for the numbers. He would just like spew numbers at me, square footage, and then just be like, okay, well, you're young. Why don't you do all the math? And then he'd give me this map and be like, you find all the different buildings and then you count them for me and it'll be good.
Yeah.
And I don't think I really had a choice in it.
Not a lot.
But no, it was, I don't know if it was fun, but I didn't mind it as much as I said I did.
Right. But then you find out that potentially he's been contacted back. Were you just as excited, or were you like,
Well,
oh crap, here we go?
This is where it gets good.
I threw away all of the notes that I had taken for the job.
You threw away all the notes.
Yeah, deleted the pictures,
All of them,
everything.
the map.
I deleted my
gone.
labeled map. The entire bid was based on my labels, and I deleted the map. And changed my phone, so I didn't even have my recently deleted.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then my wife as well
Throughout the
for her
notebook.
part in it.
So this is a multi-million-dollar bid,
It is,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
And all of that's gone, and the contractor that you've emailed thinking that you have all this,
Says give it to me by Friday.
give it to me by Friday, and it's
Right.
what day?
Monday.
Okay, so what happens?
Okay, so we're in the middle of a night job, doing cabinets at night for somebody who really would want his cabinets to look great, right? So
It was a terrible job.
she doesn't like it, but
I
we were.
hated
She did.
Painting
But-
cabinets at 3 a.m. is something nobody should ever have to do.
Even your worst enemy.
Even
Yeah,
worse than.
but that's how I roll.
All right.
So, so really, like at this time period, we're switching from night work to day work to night work to day work, all in, because I'm just nuts like
We're
that.
doing a convention center.
Yeah, we were painting the convention center at the same time. So we were like really just, okay, so all this time's going by, and the week that goes by, I have to redo the whole bid. Right?
Yeah, but
During
when
the
are
day.
you gonna fit time? Yeah, but you still got projects.
Right. So I managed to squeak together. He wanted. See, the job is based on 3 different year cycles. So they go in different groups. So
Okay.
basically, he asked me for the first year. Give me the pricing for that.
Right.
So I had time to do that. That was. I don't know, it was, there's 127 buildings, and there was a lot of redoing. So I had time to do that. And then so I got it off to him like literally like the Friday, right? I was like, good. So he says, all right, that looks great. Why don't you give me pricing for the rest? So now I got to do all the other buildings, right? So I go and we still don't have it at this point. It's just,
Right.
you know, like we're just talking. So,
Did you feel like you had a good chance?
Yes. I've known from the moment I stepped foot on that property that it was mine. I've known, right?
He did. He did.
I just knew.
That's amazing.
I just knew.
This is his biggest I told you so.
It is. It's sanctioned. My wife said, okay, and I did it. I said, I told you so.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. And so we started, I got the job, you know, long story short, but I had a lot of hurdles I had to jump through. And really, I couldn't have done any of it myself. For example, like I've been a painter for 30 years.
Right.
However, I have not been a mathematician for 30 years. I am not great at everything. What I am good at is recognizing talent in other people and filling blanks with the people who can fill those blanks. And so for her part, my wife, you know, she's excellent with numbers, excellent with money. So she's in charge of all the money. I don't even touch it. She is the holder of my contractor's license in Oregon. That trained her. She's been working for me for a year. And the first week, I decided she was going to be a contractor. So I paid her to take the contractor's exam. She is part of the family business now. And so I'm teaching her to do this, you know, for a living.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's brilliant. And so I throw everything hard her way, you know, and then just help her get through it. It's fun. It's really fun. Yeah, see?
Well, that's a really remarkable story, and it kind of is, and it goes to show that like in this industry, you have to have grit to keep going, you know, and keep pursuing, because you know throughout this conversation, there's been numerous times where a lot of contractors typically like fold up shop.
Right.
Like, or I just default, go work for somebody else, you know. And I think a lot of people underestimate what it really takes, like to be a successful just business owner. And being a contractor, a lot of even homeowners and customers don't understand is like a person is a business owner. They're responsible for HR, they're responsible for marketing. So I think
it's a big responsibility.
So I think you identifying and surrounding yourself, and it's awesome that they're your family, like all the missing pieces to help build something. And now this is a project that can really, you know, set your business up for the next level.
Oh, indeed. And I'm really excited about it. And it's not just this project. What it's afforded me is the ability to, I guess, play, you know, whereas prior to this project, you know, hand to mouth, you know, I was doing
last $7, like, you know,
right. And
crazy.
you know, it's funny you should mention that, because this whole project so far up to today, I've had to fund myself, you know, and it's been very hard. But we made it, you know, like we got over a hurdle. Like we actually started this project with no money, with accounts out owed to us, invoices unpaid, and just because I felt it, you know, like it's just we got to do it. And today we made payroll, which is like the biggest thing, you know, like
it's huge on a project of this nature.
Right.
It can really get up there.
It can get up there, and you know, the billing cycles are monthly.
Right.
So everything I accrue in 1 month, I have to pay for myself. And then, you know, that doesn't count the startup, the sprayers, the extra labor, you know, every extra
lunch,
person.
gas,
lunch.
You know,
all the things.
Something goes wrong.
Right.
Yeah, it all adds up.
Yeah. So it's, you know, what I found is it's really fun. You know, I have a lot of fun with it now. It's a game, and if you play it correctly and you don't blow your money on things that are stupid, you can really go far. Like my wife, just, you know, she's instrumental in our financial abilities as a company, you know, and I don't know what else to say about it except, you know,
Yeah. So, no, that's a remarkable story. So my question for you would be like, if you for anybody listening, it's a contractor, like, what piece of advice do you have like for them to try to like help get to the level where you're at now?
Be a part of the daily operations of your business. The most important thing you can do is be there. When you walk away, the kittens start going. You know, it's like herding kittens. Like when you're
Not
running,
cats,
not
kittens.
cats, kittens. Yeah. So when you're running a business, and this is new to me. You know, like over the last 2.5 years, I've had exponential growth as a person, as a contractor. I mean, prior to this incarnation of myself, I was a nervous person, afraid to, you know, like really put myself out there. Really, like it was the rejection for me that made it hard. But if you can get over that and take yourself, your ego, out of the process, then you'll start making money as a contractor. Because what I found is that the more of myself I invested in my work, the longer everything took. And you can do the same level of work and not be as invested in it personally. Like you don't have to base your self-esteem off of somebody's ability to spot an imperfection.
Got it.
Yeah, and I think the biggest lesson that I learned is, you know, take your ego out of it and look at it from a broader perspective. Because when I was on the East Coast, it was the complete opposite for me. You know, I never wanted to finish jobs. You know, like the longer I was on a project, it felt like I had a job. You know,
Right.
Like you know, there was no time in between, because it's the time in between for me that is the hardest.
Yeah, that uncertainty of where's the next opportunity.
Right.
Coming from.
Right, exactly. And you know, if you can manage to make a schedule, that's something I've learned very recently. Schedules help. I was very free form, nothing written down ever, and it's hard to exist that way. So I've got Jasmine. You see, this is where it comes into play. I've got Jasmine to keep me grounded and tell me when I'm doing something that I've told her I'm not supposed to do. And then I have an office staff that keeps, you know, tabs on me and on my schedule and makes sure that I'm not overbooking myself, because I will. I just chase after everything.
Yeah. Quick, so how helpful has, you know, like Sherwin-Williams been for you in this process?
Instrumental. Actually, I had no idea that a paint rep could put so much effort into the growth of a company. I used to hate paint reps, hated them so much. I got fired from a job once for telling a paint rep what I thought of his paint. And it became a personal vendetta that I had for literally 15, almost 20 years. I just held on to it like a little hate baby. And then I met Jesse, and he kind of showed me that, you know, sales guys don't have to necessarily sell you stuff. You know, they can give you advice, and you know. And when I realized that, I started to reach out to him, and you know, he knew me from the company that I worked for prior. He was their sales rep, and he happened to walk onto the job that I got that started my company accidentally. He just walked by. It was, you know, seeing the contractor that I was working for. I was like, "Hey, Jesse," and I was like, "Hey, Greg," and from there, you know, he became my rep, and it's just been, you know, he's given me very sound advice as far as contracts go, just the ins and outs of it, because, you know, like I said, I'm not good at everything, and really like pulling from his knowledge base, and also asking a lot of other contractors. You know, it's been a pretty good learning experience. So,
That's awesome.
ramble.
So no worries. So for 2020, you're gonna need to ramp up, right?
Yeah, I will be
And
ramping
so
up.
how many people are you looking potentially to bring on? And you know,
Well, what I'd like to do right now, I run a crew of 5. It's my most efficient unit. So what I plan to do is get another 2 crews together. So it'll be
5.
another 2 crews of 5. So 10 more people.
Yep.
Then yeah, really, you know, it's the way I arrange it is I get a spray guy and, you know, 4 preppers, and usually they can keep ahead of the spray guy, unless he's really good, and then, you know, we might need a 5th prepper. I run around and fill in, you know,
As needed.
Yeah, as needed. That's my job now. I don't really paint much.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, cool. Well, I think, like moving forward in the future, I mean, hopefully, obviously you have a reputation, you have your resources, but, our goal here is, to try to help contractors find like direct labor
Right.
or other contractors. And
Right,
so,
which is hard to do. Finding labor is really hard. You have to make them, like out of family. She had no interest in painting.
Yeah.
I saw her awake one morning, and
He
she was
did.
awake when I was awake, and I thought,
you.
Well, no, he just left. We talked for a bit, and then he left, and then he got a text, or you texted Tony,
Yeah.
and told Tony to ask me if I wanted to come help at work. And I was like, yeah, why not?
Yeah,
I
so
didn't even
she
think he was
drops her
gonna pay
off,
me.
and the first thing I have her do is start carrying around steel railings, sections of steel railings, like they're 12 feet tall, they're steel, and I'm like, all right, Jasmine, who's never had to lift anything in your
got it
life,
done.
she does now. She's walking around with a 28-foot ladder now.
No kidding.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
That's awesome.
yeah, she's pretty brutal to that ladder.
Well, this is pretty exciting stuff. Like I'm definitely a huge fan. Like
I appreciate that.
No,
Thank you.
for sure. Like it's remarkable what you guys have been able to accomplish, and it's like I've been there when you're just like starting out, and you're just like, when's this big break gonna come? But
Mhm.
but the truth is in life, in this world, like you make your own luck.
You do.
And you guys are a living testament of that. And so, we really wish you the best, and we look forward to helping support and staff you in any way possible, even if it's just with
appreciate it.
one
Thank you.
person. So, thank you guys for coming by. This episode's been fantastic. Again, if you are in the Portland area, you're a contractor, remodeler, builder, multifamily, homeowner, you need paintwork done, you need to hit up Greg at Level 5 Finishes. So,
That's right.
all right. Thank you guys. See you next week.